This remind video is a reminder to something I mentioned way early when I began with this YouTube channel. It's something that's very, very common sense and very natural when you just look at it. But I'm still reminding you of it because some people need videos like this. I'm telling you, beware who you spend your time with. Okay, maybe I need to repeat this so this will get through to you. Beware who you spend your time with. Look, I don't have any agenda with this video. You have many self-help gurus out there and their agenda is for you to buy their books or to come to their seminaries. Or you have pagan pastors out there leading pagan churches that want you to join their cult. And they're using the name of Christ to lure you. And they may tell you a similar thing that I'm speaking about now. And understand this, con men and con women will say things are true to trap you. I'm not doing that. I have no agenda with this video. I'm not asking for your money. I'm not asking you to buy my books. I'm not asking you to join some group I just formed. No. I'm recording this message purely for you to inform you. I'm not selling you anything. No lifestyle, no doctrine. I'm not into that. Just hear me out here. Some people are not good for you. Some people are lethal to you. Hear me clear here. As a human being, you are a spirit being with a soul living in a body. So you are a spirit being. Nevertheless, you are a vulnerable being. Okay, you are a vulnerable creature. And as a vulnerable creature, you are affected by your environment. If you grew up in Texas, you speak English as your first language and probably you have a Texan accent. If someone grew up in Florida or California, they also likely have English as a first language, or if they are from Latino parents, Spanish as a first language. But anyway, if you have three people, one from California, one from Texas, and one from Florida, or I'm saying one from New York, they all have American citizenship. They grew up in a similar culture, I'm saying the American culture. Nevertheless, there are some differences with them, even if the language you speak and to the environment. You get what I'm saying? Your environment affects you. There is nothing wrong with that. That's natural. Just understand the following. Just like the environment, let's say the people in environments can contribute to good stuff, they can also contribute to bad stuff. And understand carefully that most of these influences influence you on an unconscious level. So you're not aware you're being influenced. See it like this. If you hang around people who are smoking all the time, that does not automatically imply that you'll begin to smoke. But understand, those chronic smokers are relief seekers. And that smoking is covering some of the bad thinking they have. Now you may not begin to smoke just like they do, but you will unconsciously pick some of their ways, some of their bad habits, some of their bad thinking patterns, and you'll pick them up without you being aware of it. It can be that some of those smokers are chronic complainers also. They complain about everything. Instead of becoming involved in the solution, they remain part of the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, bad stuff happen, okay? Sometimes challenging times just arrive without invitation. Yes, bad times or troubling times tend to arrive without invitation. It happens in life. I've been through some. Probably you too. It happens. But what is your attitude? Do you become part of the solution, that means part of the victory, or do you remain in the victim role? Or do you just get along with whatever is thrown your way without evaluating anything? Now let's say that you're hanging out with a group of people. Besides chronic smokers, many of them are also chronic complainers. You will not begin to smoke just like they do because you see clearly smoking is bad for your physical health and it costs a lot of money, you don't want to do that. But without you being aware of it, you begin to complain a lot also. And this now affects you. And without you being aware of it, you also attract demons onto you because of your chronic complaining. So now more dangers coming after you. And after a while, let's say after 2 or 3 years, your life has become a living hell. And you ask yourself, how is this possible? And then you reflect back, who do you, who did you begin to hang out with 3 or 4 years ago? Now you realize that the moment you began to hang out with those so-called friends, things turned out worse for you. And here's the thing, your life now is relatively worse than their life. So they were in self-destruction, but without you being aware of it, Satan used them to bring you in worse self-destruction. And now you realize that those people were not good for you, even though you had a good time with them, even though they did help you out in certain areas of your life, they were not good for you at all. In addition, this doesn't only relate to so-called friends. It relates to relatives, to co-workers, to everyone. Beware who you spend your time with. If you, for example, have a parent who didn't achieve anything in his or her life, a parent that never looked beyond, a parent that never wanted to grow, that only had interested in him or herself, such a parent you were dependent upon while growing up as a child, but now that you're not a child anymore, you evaluate that parent and you realize, I can't honor this individual. Because you can't honor bad influences and expect good outcomes. But then you may tell me, what Rashid, doesn't the Bible say honor your mother and father so you will have a long life on the earth? Now ask yourself, if someone is negative minded, can any good come from that? No. So how can you have a long life, a life with quality, by giving weight and influence over your life to someone that's negative? I'm not going into the 10 Commandments and why we're given. I've spoken about it a lot already in other videos. Just understand that you can't honor everyone. You can't grant everyone space to have influence over you. You can't do that. Absolutely not. First of all, literally it's not possible because there are millions, billions walking the earth, so you can't give them all weight over you. There are always a handful of people that you are in contact with regularly, and those that you remain in contact with, you honor them by granting them space to have influence over you. And let me tell you, some of you, your parents are toxic. Some of your parents may even be demon possessed or intoxicated with bitterness. And you don't evaluate the situation. You just go along with your culture or what the church tells you instead of agreeing with Christ. If you agree with Christ and realize those people are toxic, they used to be very important to you while growing up. Obviously, there was no other option, but now those times are over. If they are not willing to seek deliverance, they should not have any influence over you at all. Your life matters. Your safety matters. Why? Because Christ died for you and he rose again on your behalf. So you matter. So nobody that persists in toxicity should have an honorable position in your life. Period. What do? You remove yourself slowly from those people, and after a while, you don't have much contact with them anymore, and if needed, you break all contact. Now, breaking all contact, well, that's a bit extreme, but there are times it's needed. Anyway, remove yourself safely. Keep yourself at a safe distance from everyone. I would say from anyone that refuses to move forward. Look, let me give an illustration here. I know a guy which I met in my late teens. He's a bit younger than me. We went to some anime convention together, so we had some good times together, but after a while, I lost contact with the guy. Well, I had my challenging times that I was going through. And so one day I contacted him on social media and asked how he was, and he told me that he suffered from alcoholism and he also had a drug addiction. And he also hurt certain people in his life while being addicted, and he was not proud of it. He also told me that he was in recovery because he joined some group in which he received treatment. And He did, and eventually he got out. Has been clean for almost a year now. He has his own home again. He has a job. So his circumstances recovered. Now he's not a believer. He's not following Christ. And he doesn't have that much spiritual knowledge either. But this guy, at least he was factual. And he realized that things were going wrong, things would only become worse and worse, and realized, no, I don't want this. I want to be better. And he did what he could to be part of the solution. No, I'm not saying that he's delivered. No, he's not delivered. He still needs to be delivered. But when it comes to circumstances, things work out for him because he chose to be part of the solution. And here's the thing. Such a guy, I'm not going to place judgment on him or whether he's a good guy, bad guy, or anything like that. Just look at this guy. I'm using him as a parable here. This guy is realistic in the sense he realizes, hold on a minute, when something goes wrong, it goes wrong. You need to turn. Don't you realize that there are people that just don't want to turn? Don't you realize that there are people who are just comfortable in self-destruction? Yes, you have them. Some of them have jobs, even jobs that pay very well. But nevertheless, they still have all these psychological issues, all these toxic thinking patterns that they don't want to give up. They have these people in their lives that they don't want to let go of, even though it's obvious that those people mean them no good. So don't just look at someone's economic circumstances. You have people with jobs, they have a decorated home with a mortgage that's secure, but they're not safe for you to be around. They are not. From a distance, they appear to have it all. From a distance, they appear to have the good life. But once you begin to hang out with them, you'll notice that they may not complain a lot, but they have these very fatalistic ways of looking at circumstances. And they have all these accusations against certain people. Some of them even have bitterness that they carry with them. Remember, bitterness is a demon. So they have bitter thinking. But they have a job. They are respected at the job. And because they have a job with a title, people think they're alright, they're good people to be around. No, they're not. You need to look at the bigger picture when evaluating people. Don't just look at your expectations. Don't just look at your emotions. And don't just look at the standard society has conditioned you in to. Look at the bigger picture. Let me say it like this. If you hang around bitter-minded people, you'll become bitter-minded also. I'm not saying that you will pick up their alcoholism, their chronic smoking, or their chronic gossiping. I'm not saying that you will pick up some external behavior of theirs directly, but that attitude of theirs, you will pick it up unconsciously and you'll carry it with them. And when you carry that attitude with you, you also receive similar demons with you and similar dangers that you will carry around also. This is how it works spiritually. If someone operates supernaturally, so they are in agreement with Christ, they operate in the power of God, and you are around such an individual, you will benefit from their cover. Yes, you will. But if someone is not walking with God, but instead they're operating in the negative and they're holding on to the negative, their contention will affect you even if you're not walking in the same self-destruction as they are. Yes, that's how it works. Now, another illustration. Let's say now that you have Tim, and Tim is a criminal, he's a crook, and he has many enemies in the streets. He robbed many criminals. So a lot of folks in the streets wants to get to him. Some want to kill him. A lot want to pay him back. Let's say now that Tim begins to date your daughter. And Tim is very kind, very sweet to your daughter. You think, oh, he's a good guy. Tim even has a job. Yes, he does. But hold on a minute. This Tim is involved in criminality. He has people that want to kill him. So what do you think his impact is going to be on your daughter? your daughter will be drawn into that world of criminality without her being aware of it. It can be that she is now engaged to Tim and suddenly her life is endangered because there are people that want to kidnap her, because there are people that want to do things to her. Why? Because people see he is the girl of Tim, and people want to hurt Tim, but they can't find Tim, so they go after someone that's close to Tim. And your daughter is close to Tim, so they think if you can't find Tim, the girl he's sleeping with probably knows where Tim is. Do you get what I'm saying here? Tim has his contention that he needs to be delivered from, but he has no interest in seeking deliverance. So everyone he gets involved with will be affected by that contention. Everyone he gets involved with will experience some of that danger that's haunting him. In addition to this, let's say your daughter breaks the relationship with Tim. There are people who have seen her with Tim often, so she'll be remembered as a girl that dated a crook. And she can hide this for a future spouse, but that's going to take effort to hide it. Now she has to deal with the fact that she used to be involved with a criminal. And people will have their prejudices about it also. So that is also something she needs to deal with. So even if she breaks off all contact with Tim, her time with Tim has affected her already. It has affected her far more than she realizes. And it's only after Tim is gone from her life that she will notice the impact Tim had on her. That is how it is with many people. You are not aware of the impact they have on you until they're gone. And if their impact was bad, you'll notice it after when it's too late. I'm not saying that recovery and restoration are impossible. Those are possible. But nevertheless, it would have been far better if you would have avoided that bad impact to begin with. How many people does it take to ruin someone's life? Only one. Didn't Christ say that one small piece of leaven leavens the whole lump? Christ understood this. If you have only one small piece of error in a doctrine, the whole doctrine is affected. Because that small error will distract you and hinder you. Now let me tell you, there are people out there, their lives has been ruined. Some of them even lost their lives. Why? Because there was one bad influence around them. And that bad influence wasn't even someone that was very close to them. It can be that one of their cousins was dating a guy, or one of their male cousins dated a girl, and that this girl had a lot of bad contention with her. And because this guy had good contact with that cousin, the partner of that cousin affected him through his cousin. And that was the catalyst that brought destruction onto him. That is how things go. I mean it. It's not just the people you're in contact with directly. The people you're in contact with on a regular basis, they also have their people they're in contact with. And if one of them has a very bad influence, that very bad influence will have an indirect effect on you also. That is what it means to be part of a network. It's a network, so you are affected directly, indirectly by the influences around you. Look, I've watched a lot of crime documentaries also. I don't even know how many I've watched, because I wanted to learn. I only watch crime documentaries about real life incidents, not about theories and all of that. And let me tell you, I noticed a pattern in many of the cases I've studied. Because after I watch a documentary, I tend to go online to look up the case itself. For example, newspaper articles, or there are even police archives that are made public. Archives, well, documentations, I mean. So, about many of those criminal cases, when you evaluate the situation carefully in each case, you'll see a pattern in all those cases. The victim, let's say the homicide victim, didn't end up as a homicide victim just like that. The homicide victim was involved in relationships, just like all human beings are, unless you are a hermit that lives somewhere on the Pacific. But okay, in general, people are in relationships. And what you notice about those crime cases, those homicide cases, I mean, is that there's always one individual that enters someone's life that serves as the open door to destruction. And often, when this individual enters the victim's life, the victim is not aware that Satan has entered in, that destruction has entered in. Some of those homicide victims, I felt sorry for them after going through their case. Well, not really going through their case as if I'm a detective that went in depth in it, but I'm an anthropologist and I look further into cases. Some of those homicide victims, I felt bad for them. Some of them were young men with their own businesses. They were making good money. They even married, and they became fathers. Some were women that were successful. They were very kind and positive actors in their communities. But there was one individual, one new friend, or one new acquaintance that entered in, and they ended up dead. Now, many of those people didn't see it coming. Many of them didn't even notice that something was wrong until it was too late. Now, those homicide cases are the extreme cases when the influence was obviously fatal. There are many cases, let's say in the majority of the cases, the impact is less fatal. It doesn't lead to homicide, but you're still being drained. You're still being killed over time. You're still being hindered. Listen carefully. I'm not recording this message to tell you to become self-protective, self-occupied, suspicious, and paranoid. No. I'm not telling you to become narcissistically self-aware, that you only want to be around people that you can use. I'm not into that. I'm telling you just to be alert. Christ himself told us to be alert, or with other words, be watchful. Christ also told us to pay attention to the sign of the times. There was one thing Christ said. You can look this up in the New Testament. He told us that if you have a dispute with your adversary, make sure you arrange things quickly so that he wouldn't go to the judge and the civil judge would throw you in jail. Because he told us you will not leave that jail until you pay the last penny. Now, Christ was not vindicating the Roman legal system here, because the Roman legal system back then had a lot of injustice in it. It did. What Christ was saying is, because Christ said this right after he said that when people pay attention to the weather, they anticipate. And he told them you ought to anticipate the signs of the times also. He didn't say to people to look after signs, but he said to pay attention to the signs of the times. So simply said, be alert. What Christ meant when he said that if you are on your way with your adversary to arrange things before it gets into the hand of a civil judge, Christ wasn't just saying to resolve things peacefully. Of course you should resolve things peacefully. Even in the times of the Romans, it was expected that civilians would work things out peacefully, and that the court of law would only be used in extreme cases when no solution could be found. By no means was it intended that the legal system back then should be used as a first resort. Even today, the legal system is not intended as a first resort, but as a last resort when things are escalating. Now, what Christ was saying here, just listen carefully to what he was saying. Okay, don't say, you can read it for yourself. Make sure you get rid of your adversary as soon as possible. That is what Christ was saying here. Look, when you have people that operate in accusation towards you, they are in the negative against you. Okay, that's them. That's not you. So that's not your responsibility. So don't take that responsibility, because you can't take it, because it isn't you. Okay? Nevertheless, acknowledge that there are people operating in the negative against you. Now, let's say that you did something that upset them. You can apologize, you can work things out with them, but there are times that doesn't work, because some folks are just negative minded. Some folks, it's with them, it's either their way or the highway. You have such people. Now, if you're dealing with such difficult people, anticipate supernaturally, so you'll get rid of those people. I'm not talking about praying judgment upon them so the best will happen to them and they'll leave you alone. I'm not talking about that. Okay? There are extreme cases in which groups of people have dedicated themselves to bring you to death. Well, that's a different case, but I'm not talking about such very extreme cases that some believers encounter. I'm telling you, get rid of your adversary as soon as possible. And an adversary doesn't have to be someone that openly accuses you or openly doesn't like you. When someone develops a will against you and they openly confesses this, that they don't like you, they can't stand you, they don't want you around, they've just binded themselves. Because every time they now will see you, that memory of them willing against you is triggered. And they don't have to deal with happiness. Or if they did it publicly, everyone else will remind them, hold on a minute. Were you not the one that said you didn't like someone? Then why are you around them now? So, adversaries aren't just people that openly confess their negative will against you. Adversaries can also be people that are upset, they are offended because their expectations aren't honored. And they may not turn on you directly, but they are upset because you don't comply with their unexamined expectations. And covertly, they will sabotage you to vindicate their unexamined expectations, which have been frustrated. In any way, once you have an adversary and you have identified that this is an adversary indeed, make sure you lose him or her as soon as possible. I'm not telling you to just cut people off bluntly, even though there are cases where when this is needed, when you're dealing with psychopathic stalkers, then you just cut them off, no contact directly. But besides that, besides psychopathic stalkers, make sure you lose them sooner or later. I'd rather have sooner. In a polite manner, distance yourself from them. Move further, meet new people. Because I'm telling you, if you keep walking with an adversary, things will only get worse. And the judge that Christ was talking about, see it as a demonic power. Okay? Once a demonic power succeeds in trapping you through someone else, you now are dealing with that demonic power. The individual that the demons used may be gone out of your life already. But now you're still dealing with the demonic power and the circumstances that those demonic powers are sustaining through other people. And the only way for you to be free from this is when you deal with the whole demonic strongholds. And that implies all the people they're working through. Okay, let me say it like this. Let's say let's say you are a female believer, or maybe not a believer, let's say you're a female and you had a friend called Bethany. And Bethany was smoking. But besides smoking, you thought there's nothing wrong with this chick. She has a job. She works at a consultant office. She's very serious. She has a boyfriend. She's not sleeping around. So you think, hey, this is a modest woman, kind of to be around. Let's say now that this Bethany is so codependent on that boyfriend that she even sold you out just to get approval of that guy. Now this guy, who is also codependent on Bethany, began to take actions against you to win Bethany's favor. And now the action this guy took against you caused a lot of people to have bad opinions about you. Now after a while, Bethany breaks all contact with you because she's so into getting the approval of that boyfriend. Now, so Bethany and that guy are now gone. So you don't have to deal with those two anymore. But now you have like 20, 30, or even 50 people with negative wills against you. And those people don't want to admit individually, each of them, they don't want to admit that they listen to gossip without evaluating facts. They don't want to admit this of themselves. So they will defend their negative attitude towards you. And their family, friends also, so they will talk bad about you also. So after a while, you may have 200, 300 people that engage in meditating negatively against you. And this will cause a lot of psychic attacks on you. This will cause a lot of, well, it will cause a lot of heaviness in your circumstances. Let me say it like that. But what if you foresaw that this Bethany was not good to you, and you, in your wisdom, in your practical understanding, remove yourself safely from her? Well, it may not have been easy, but now that this Bethany is gone, You will not have those 300 people meditating negatively against you. That has now been prevented. Now, you were not aware that it would work out in 300 people meditating negatively against you. It's bad enough to have one individual, two individuals, or three meditating negatively against you. You don't want 300 meditating negatively against you. So in this case, this Bethany was an adversary, not because Bethany had a will against you, not because Bethany back then had any bad intentions towards you, but she was an adversary because she was a risk to be around. It was not a risk worth it for you. Now, listen what I'm saying here. You can't prevent everything. You can't prevent all bad stuff from happening. No. Christ said in this world you have tribulation. But just because tribulation is inevitable doesn't mean you have to go through all tribulations that come your way. That doesn't mean that you have to linger and abide in tribulation. No. You can anticipate tribulation, so you will come out victoriously. Sometimes you anticipate tribulation and you're not even aware that you went through tribulation. That happens when you learn to overrule and overcome in Christ. And Christ spoke a lot about anticipation. A lot of folks just don't pay attention to what he said. I am telling you, some people are adversaries of you, not by their own volition. They may like you, they may have good intentions with you, they may want to be around you, but they're your adversary because they are in the negative and they refuse to seek deliverance. The fact that they hold on to the negative already means they are an adversary of you, because you walk by faith. And not only that, they're an adversary to everyone they are in contact with. I don't care how kind, how sweet, or how caring they are. They may have all those good qualities, but if they persist in the negative, they have chosen to become an adversary to everyone they encounter. So don't just look at people that don't like you and act out against you. Look at people in general from the wider perspective. Look at the spiritual state. Look at the bigger picture. I'm saying it often, look at the bigger picture. Please do that. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed listening to this message. It was half hour. I agree with Christ and be at peace.